This video explains how to use the feeder schedule application. The feeder schedule generates a feeder schedule that can be customized to each project. Begin by opening the feeder schedule tab on the ribbon right here, and then clicking on the Define Feeders tab on the ribbon. This opens a window that allows you to define various parameters for the feeder schedule. This feeder schedule is based on THHN, THWN, THWN2 conductors. The conduit size is based on the largest conduit size required when calculated in the conduit fill using EMT, GRC, INC, Schedule 80 PVC, flexible metal conduit, and liquid tight flexible metal conduit. This window also lists all the code references used to develop this feeder schedule. Begin by selecting the largest feeder size needed for your project. Next, select the service configuration, either a single-phase 3-wire service or a 3-phase 4-wire service. You can also select the conductor materials you need for your feeder schedule, both copper and aluminum. If you select aluminum, you can define the minimum aluminum size feeder you want on your project. Number 4 to number 1 would be the minimum conductor sizes. Here you have separately derived systems, such as transformers. The feeder between the transformer and the first overcurrent protective device downstream of the transformer follows different rules for feeders. The separately derived feeders option follows those rules and provides an additional table for the feeders that are coming off of a separately derived system. You can also define the smallest conduit size. If you select 3/4 inch for the minimum conduit size, all references to 1/2 inch conduit will be changed to 3/4 inch. Utility work. Some utilities do all of the work, conduit and wire, between the utility transformer and the main service. Other utilities will provide the conductors, but you are required to provide the conduit. While other utilities require that you provide both the conduit and conductor between the utility transformer and the main service. If you select either of these two options, you need to use the service size as the largest feeder size so that the feeder data for the utility portion of the schedule is correct. You can also define medium voltage feeders. They can be either copper or aluminum, and you again select the largest size feeder you need for that project. When done, click on the Create button to create your feeder schedule. The feeder schedule tags are read this way. A 1 represents a single phase feeder, a hot, a neutral, and a ground, or it can be 2 hots and a ground. A 3-wire feeder would be 2 hots and a neutral, or 3 hots. A 4-wire feeder would be 3 hots, a neutral, and a ground. Here you can see that the separately derived system table includes a suffix on the feeder tag indicating S for separately derived systems. The rest of the tag is read this way. A 1203 feeder represents a 1200 amp feeder, and it is a 3-wire feeder. Here you have a 204 feeder. That would be a 200 amp 4-wire feeder. The 084 would be an 80 amp feeder with a 4-wire configuration. At the bottom of this table, we find the utility feeders showing a 2000 amp service. So we have 2000 amp feeder. The U indicates that it's the utility feeder and configures it here. The aluminum feeders are found on this tab. They are set up the same way with an A prefix to indicate aluminum. And then your medium voltage feeders are found on this final tab, M representing medium, A representing aluminum. This tab, this worksheet is password protected, but it is not password protected. Come to the Review tab, click on Unprotect Sheet, and you can come in here and you can change the value you need if these values are incorrect for your project. Please refer to the other videos in this series to learn how to take full advantage of the software applications in this series.